The movie starts with Eddie, a former Marine Corps captain, sitting alone in his truck outside the veteran's office. He's at his breaking point, unable to find any work in town. He talks to the admin and lists all his qualifications: 3 tours, 2 Purple Hearts, Space Marine. The works. He's willing to do anything to make money, even cleaning up dookie if he has to. The admin sees that his psych evaluation isn't checked off, but Eddie lies and says he's fine. The admin tells him there's no work available right now. Eddie pleads with her, saying he's tried everything to support his wife and daughter, who are living 2 states away. He can't wait anymore and is willing to work for minimum wage, even though he's a military captain. But the admin still says no. Eddie leaves, but the admin meets him outside and offers him a job as a security guard, saying she'll overlook his psych evaluation. He can start right away. Meanwhile, some U.S. Marshals are getting ready to transport a witness across state lines. They head out in 3 cars with the witness asleep in the back. By nightfall, they're still on the road driving fast. The rain starts to pour, and the agents realize they've lost signal on their devices. They also notice a few cars following them. The leader tries to warn the others but can't get through. Suddenly, the convoy hits spikes, and the front car flips over. Gunfire erupts as a group of heavily armed men attacks the agents. Outnumbered, the leader tells the scared female witness to run into the nearby woods. After a while, all the agents are killed in the gunfight. The men realize their target is missing, and they quickly clean up the scene. That night, Eddie gets a new apartment and calls his wife Valerie to tell her about the job. Valerie worries about Eddie's PTSD, but he reassures her that he's okay, and tells her to kiss their daughter Sylvie for him. The next day, Eddie starts his new job at a mall. He meets Vance, a young guard, at the door. After checking Eddie's paperwork, Vance gives him a short tour of the mall and introduces him to the other guards: Mason, a quiet man; Ruby, a female guard who spends more time drinking and sleeping than working; and Johnny, the last guard on shift, who looks like a K-pop boy band member and mostly lounges around. Eddie gets changed into his uniform, and Vance gives him a more detailed tour of the mall's security zones. Eddie doesn't think much of their security setup. Their riot barricades and few personnel wouldn't be able to handle any real emergency. Based on how Eddie carries himself, Vance can tell he's military and, feeling intimidated, reminds Eddie that he is in charge here. Vance leaves Eddie to do his rounds, and Eddie stares longingly at a picture of his happy family before starting his patrol. Due to the lightning, the lights go out, but the backup power kicks in. As Eddie passes by the entrance door, he notices a small girl banging on the glass. He rushes to let her in. The girl screams that men are coming before passing out in Eddie's arms. Eddie brings her to the lounge where the other guards gather around. They try calling the cops, but realize the lines are down and their cell phones have no signal. At that moment, they spot a figure on the security cameras walking toward the door. They meet the man at the door who claims to be looking for his daughter. Vance, a little too gullible, believes him, but Eddie is suspicious. The girl was clearly scared when she came in. Eddie questions the man about the little girl, and although he seems to know all the answers, when the girl awakens, she screams and runs away. Realizing he is caught, the man, Charlie, offers the guards $1.2 million to hand over the girl or they will all die a horrible death. Vance is shocked, seeing that much money, and for a moment it looks like he might take it and give in to Charlie's threats. He begins to open the doors, but Eddie quickly knocks him out and locks the doors on Charlie. Charlie warns that Eddie will be responsible for everyone's deaths and thanks him for his service. Charlie then returns to the men under his command and begins to ready them for an assault on the mall to take the girl. Eddie goes looking for the girl, Jamie, who is hiding. He talks to her loudly, telling her about his daughter Sylvie. A ball rolls to him, like in a scary movie, but when he goes to check, Jamie comes up behind him holding a BB gun, demanding food, water, and Eddie's protection, to which he agrees. Mason figures out that Jamie is a witness to the murder of her father, who worked as an accountant for mob boss Charlie until he leaked information to the feds. Eddie warns that the men are coming back and seem well prepared, as they took out the phone lines before Jamie even arrived. They make plans to escape until they spot heavily armed men on the cameras surrounding the building. Thinking quickly, Eddie finds a small room to hide Jamie and hands her a walkie-talkie to talk to him. He reassures her that she will be safe. Eddie sees the men lingering outside and figures out they are disabling the cars in the parking lot. Vance remembers the gun he has hidden under his seat, but he questions the point of having concealed carry if he doesn't actually carry it. Mason begins to lose his composure, wanting to leave the mall as soon as possible. Eddie warns him that he will be killed if he leaves, expecting that the feds will come looking for Jamie, and they just have to survive until then. They make preparations, electrifying the shutters and blocking the doors. Charlie has a car ram into the front doors, and a man charges, beginning to climb the walls. Eddie and the guards light a Molotov cocktail on fire and drop it onto the car, setting the driver on fire before escaping under sniper fire. The sniper kills the man on fire, and Charlie orders them to clean up the scene. Eddie and Johnny escape, but Vance is caught by the climbing man. He fights him off until Ruby knocks the man out. They manage to escape, but the man soon awakens. They reunite with Eddie and the others, who warn that it will only be a matter of time before the men get to them. The plan is to buy time and take out as many of the bad guys as possible. Johnny reveals his hidden skill of bomb-making thanks to YouTube. Eddie assigns Johnny to be the lookout, telling him to watch for regular police patrols and just signal if he sees them. Jamie comes out of hiding, not wanting to stay out of the action but to help. She even has a plan. Meanwhile, Charlie and his heavily armed team enter the building and hack into the security cameras. He then orders his men to find and kill everyone. One man gets electrocuted trying to open the shutters, but they eventually get inside. Jamie has mounted a camera on top of a remote control car and drives it directly to the men who take it back to Charlie. There is a note attached that tells him to switch to channel 47, and Charlie hears Eddie on the channel. The two introduce themselves, and Eddie warns Charlie to give up, as the feds will soon be on their way, and in the mall, they have the home court advantage. Charlie is unfazed and sends a message to everyone listening, including his own men. If they succeed in their mission and kill Jamie, his men will get a $100,000 bonus. If Jamie survives, everyone, including their families, pets, and even the postman who drops their mail, will be wiped out. Charlie's men get moving right away, scanning for their target. Ruby sets off a diversion before shooting one of the gangsters with a bow and arrow, but she seems unfazed. They locate Ruby's hiding spot and begin to rip the room to shreds. As they advance slowly, Ruby pretends to be dead when one gangster comes to check, saving her life. Vance sets off a homemade nail bomb, but these guys seem to be on something tonight. One gangster almost finds Mason, who tushes the living daylights out of him before shooting the other. Eddie checks in with the guys over the walkie-talkies. Mason is freaking out, so Eddie makes his way to him. The path is blocked by the gangsters, who open fire on Eddie, forcing him to escape outside. The sniper spots a patrol car approaching and reports it to Charlie, who warns everyone not to do anything stupid. Johnny's moment comes to signal the cop, but the flashlight isn't working. Johnny, in a panic, tries to open the door, but the sniper easily picks him off. Eddie reports Johnny's death to the team, warning them to be careful. Mason is still stuck where he is, surrounded by gangsters, making him too scared to move despite Eddie warning him that he doesn't have a choice. Jamie wants to use the remote car to help, so Eddie asks how many men are in the food court. Jamie reports back that there are 5 gangsters in the food court, and Eddie decides to take care of it. Charlie's men chase the remote car, leading them right to Eddie, who jumps into action. He uses one man as a shield before pulling off a sick move to instantly kill 3 men. He is tackled by a big, strong man, but Eddie knocks him out easily. Just as everyone moves toward the meeting spot, Eddie is suddenly attacked by the crazy climbing guy, but Eddie drops him with shots. Vance and Ruby meet up, but they are ambushed and Ruby is shot in the stomach before they can escape. Eddie, dual-wielding pistols, shoots his way to Mason, who opens fire on him out of fear before Eddie stops him. Eddie drags Mason to his feet and manages to catch up with everyone. Charlie has had enough and decides to get his hands dirty. He organizes the rest of his men outside the shutters, ordering them to get it open. Ruby is not doing well, and neither is Vance, who is bawling his eyes out. Eddie goes to a worried Jamie and gives her a taser to protect herself. He's having a hard time connecting with her, as she thinks he's treating her like a child, which makes Eddie think about his own distant relationship with his daughter. Jamie tells him about not having her father around much and blames him for not giving her a normal life. Eddie tells her that sometimes dads have it hard, and she should consider that her father, being a criminal, might have stayed away to keep her from harm. Charlie then radios Eddie. He tells him there's nowhere else to go and gives him one last chance to hand over Jamie before he barges in and kills everyone. Eddie mocks him for losing Jamie and reminds him that the feds will be there soon. Charlie ignores this and tells his men to get ready. Mason spots some cop cars on the cameras and alerts Eddie. Eddie also sees Charlie's communications truck blocking the signals and realizes they need to get rid of it. Vance is keeping watch at the door when he sees a forklift ripping through. Vance opens fire on the men, summoning his inner Rambo, killing a few gangsters. He then switches to jungle warfare, throwing firebombs before shooting the forklift's gas tank, causing it to explode. Vance, however, takes a bullet to the arm and is forced to retreat and take cover. Eddie goes to meet the feds at the door, who demand to know where Jamie is. He radios Mason to bring Jamie, but they cannot move as the men are approaching. Vance, wanting to steal the spotlight, makes the brave decision to sacrifice himself, making Jamie promise to take down the bad guys when she gets out. Eddie is waiting for Jamie to arrive when he notices a gang tattoo on one of the men. Realizing that this is Charlie's plan, Eddie tries to stop them, but Mason runs into a hail of bullets. Jamie hits the road while Eddie summons his PTSD powers and takes out the men. He gives Mason a moment of silence before going to find Jamie. He radios Jamie, asking for Vance, and is pissed to hear that he is also dead. Eddie reassures her that she needs to be strong so that they can both make it out, not letting the team's death be in vain. He wants her to head to the betting department and find a real walkie-talkie, keeping it close so once he takes out the communications truck, she will call for help on the emergency channels. Once he is done, he promises to find her. Jamie braves up and Eddie takes off toward the truck. Charlie sees him but is focused on finding Jamie. Eddie jumps on a motorcycle and takes off under heavy gunfire. The gangster named Dead Eyes chases after Eddie but is unable to stop him. Meanwhile, Charlie gets to the room where Jamie is hiding and uses his spidey senses to feel that she's in the room. He tries to discourage her, telling her that no one is coming to find her and that it's best to turn herself over. Dead Eyes somehow manages to catch up and tackles Eddie off his bike. The two fight, but Dead Eyes is more skilled in martial arts and hits Eddie hard. Eddie pulls him into a grapple to even the odds. Dead Eyes lunges at Eddie with a blade, managing to stab him in the leg, but Eddie fights back. He goes for his gun, but Eddie heads for the bike and manages to escape. He aims the bike at the van and jumps off just in time before it crashes and destroys the van. Eddie radios to Jamie and Charlie hears the transmission. He comes to check, but Jamie had dropped the walkie as a distraction, giving her time to grab the real thing and scream for help. Outside, Eddie comes under sniper fire. He's almost shot, but Dead Eyes wants to kill Eddie himself. Eddie finds Vance's gun inside his car. He takes a shot from the sniper to locate his position, then fires multiple shots, killing the sniper and shooting Dead Eyes. Eddie then collapses to the ground. Inside, Charlie finds the real walkie-talkie where the marshals are calling for Jamie and realizes he doesn't have much time. He continues talking to Jamie, telling her that Eddie has abandoned her, just like everyone else will in her life. He tells her she doesn't have to die, but he cannot let her testify. He adds that she can leave with him and live a new normal life far away. Jamie has heard enough and takes off running with Charlie following her. Charlie suddenly finds her hiding spot and drags her out, yelling for Eddie. Eddie turns up, battered and limping toward them. Charlie tells him he's lost, but Eddie speaks to Jamie in code, reminding her she still has the taser. In a quick move, Jamie tushes Charlie, and Eddie shoots him dead. Out of breath, Eddie checks that Jamie is okay before the two make their way toward the marshals who have arrived outside. Jamie hugs Eddie in relief. Vance, who has survived his injuries, is revealed, and he and Eddie salute each other as soldiers. A few days later, Eddie wakes up in the hospital with Jamie sitting at his bedside. She thanks Eddie for saving her life, telling him that his daughter is lucky to have him as her dad. She thinks she'll be sent to a foster home to start a new life, but instead, she's reunited with her uncle Will, whom she hasn't seen in years. Eddie watches them leave with a smile on his face. A few days later, Eddie visits his wife and daughter, and they share a warm hug, happy to be reunited. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.